What if the way you've been telling your life story reveals the secret to what is holding you back? Stories play an integral part in how we see not only ourselves, but the whole world. Stories are more than just an important part of communication. They also reveal hidden aspects of our inner talk, which can either support us or end up holding us back from the very things we want most in life, without us even realizing it. Join author, mindset coach, and award-winning singer-songwriter Carrie Rowan on her show, Look for the Good, every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. when she shares nuggets of wisdom from her internationally best-selling book, Tell a New Story, 5 Simple Steps to Release Your Negative Stories and Bring Joy to Your Life. Carrie's powerful stories and compelling guests will empower you to change how you look at your own life while giving you some powerful tools and tips you can use every day to help you feel better and move yourself closer to the life you've been longing to live.
Is your biotech firm, nonprofit, or startup ready to make a big leap? Ladybugz Interactive understands your unique journey. We're not just any digital agency. As an award-winning, women-led team, we bring a fresh perspective to your digital presence. Our specialty? Tailoring vibrant websites and marketing solutions specifically for growing companies like yours in healthcare, biotech, nonprofit, and B2B sectors. Ready to rebrand, launch, or soar to new heights? Discover how we can add value to your story. Join the buzz at Ladybugz Interactive. Visit ladybugz.com today. That's LADYBUGZ.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Look for the Good. I'm your host, Carrie Rowan, mindset strategist and coach, and I love sharing nuggets of wisdom about the stories we tell each other, and more importantly, the stories we tell ourselves. So join me and my special guests as we share our personal stories of strength and triumph every week on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You can listen online on your mobile device, in your car, or even ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. Tune in every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time to get real stories and tips on how to turn your story and your life around and evolve with us as we unite humankind with universal love. Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Look for the Good. Super excited to be here today with Lysa. I'm going to introduce her to you in a second. Hello, Lysa, waiting in the wings. And so before we get started, we love talking about stories, right? And Lysa and I got together and talked first before we went live. And she has so many great stories. She is just like a pillar of inspiration. And we all know that those stories that we tell contain a lot of information, right? They tell us a lot about our lives. And also on the flip side, we sometimes tell stories that don't serve us any longer. And recognizing those stories and being able to kind of have some real deep self-reflection on the stories that we tell and the reason why we tell stories, right? Because intention is one of my 5 steps to release your negative stories. And when we can look at the intention behind our stories, it gives us a lot of information about why we're telling that story and what we want from life, right? Tells us about some of our needs. So I'm super excited to talk about Lysa's stories. She's got a lot of really great stories to share with us today. And Lysa's done some pretty amazing things. Her and I first met at the Metro West Women's Networking, which is something that, she just decided to start up in her free time. So we're going to talk about that as well. And Lysa is the founder of Ladybugz with a Z Interactive. It's a digital agency specializing in startup and growing companies in biotech, nonprofit, and business to business. I could read a really long list of the amazing things that she's done. She's been named top women-owned agencies to watch out for by Agency Vista. She is has so many accolades, and she's super modest. I love that about her. She's also been recognized by Cloudways as the top 10 women-owned agency. It just really, really powerful. And in 2023, she was named in the top 3 women-owned agencies in the U.S. by Clutch.co. And this is just like an amazing thing. And in just over 2 years, she's built this digital agency with over 50 biotech nonprofit, like I mentioned before, and business-to-business clients. She's super active in the community as well, which I love. She loves to give back. And we are so excited to have you here, Lysa. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Wow, that I sound pretty cool in that intro.
It's so cool when somebody else reads your bio, right? Like we sometimes we need to do that. I tell my clients, you should keep this folder of like your feel good folder and you write down all the really cool things that you've done and then you read it out loud sometimes. When we all need a little boost occasionally. You read it out loud like you're reading somebody else's bio and you're like, you step back like you just did and you're like, wow, I did some pretty cool things. See what I mean? She's so humble. I love that. You've done a lot of amazing things. And one of the things I really love that really stuck out, and I told you I highlighted it on my notes from because I take notes all the time from our last discussion, is how, of course, we always bump into roadblocks, right? Especially as entrepreneurs. I totally get that because we're trying to do everything. And I feel like these rocks, these blocks are put in our way so that we can stop for a minute, take a breath, and then decide how to move forward. And I feel like that's one of the things that came up and we were talking about is this amazing mindset that you have that has really helped you get past a lot of stumbling blocks. Because let's face it, throughout the years, this is what we come up against. And especially, I think women in business, we tend to run into a few more stumbling blocks than most people normally would. So, talk to us a little bit about that. Like, what is that mindset that you have to keep at the forefront when you run into these stumbling blocks? Because as a business owner, they come up all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the sad part is that I forget about it and then I get stuck again. So
We
I
all
don't,
do.
I'll live by it for a while and things will be going well. And then I'll get, you kind of stop doing stuff because you're not in that same position where you're trying to get unstuck and then you kind of get stuck again. So yeah, one thing that my friend who is a mentor and coach to me had me go listen to one of my old podcast that I did like 2.5 years ago when I was just starting out. And she's like, just listen to yourself. So one thing I did say in the podcast was when you don't know what to do, you don't know what your vision is, you don't know where you want to go, it doesn't matter because you don't need to know the answer to that all the time, but just do something. Because as
Mm.
soon as you change where you are in that journey, things are going to start to appear and manifest. And then your vision will present itself as you keep doing things. So it doesn't always have to be like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or I want to be entrepreneur of the year, or whatever. That might not even be where you're supposed to be. So in my experience, when I have been in that position, which have been a lot, when you just start doing things, the things that you're good at and that you're doing, that you're able to do, the things that really match with that will just start to manifest and show up and around you, and then your bigger vision will start to reveal itself, and it will happen.
I love that so much because you're allowing, right? You're kind of just, all right, I'm just going to do something to get myself unstuck, which is awesome advice. And then when we take that step, it sort of shifts a lot of, we don't even realize how that small little step can shift so many things within us, right? It shifts our focus. It shifts, our perspective. So we're able to kind of take that camera lens back and see the bigger picture of what's going on because we decided to just do one small move. And I love that because those things start to accumulate over a time. And I love the wise advice that your friend gave you to go back and listen to yourself because you were in a different place 2 years ago, right? And now you're in a much different place. And so, what would you say for you? What was the thing that you decided to just do, to just step out and get out of that stuckness? Because we all know exactly what you're talking about. We've all been there.
Mm-hmm. Well, so my whole basically career has been as a freelancer, agency owner, and part agency owner. So, my experience with my previous agency where it was really growing, and it was COVID and it just wasn't aligning anymore with like where I was in my life. And I don't really feel like I was aligning with where they wanted to go. So it just was no longer a good fit for everybody. So when I left there, I didn't really think I ever wanted to be an agency owner again. Like that was definitely a lot of pressure for me. I wanted to have more control of my life. I didn't think I could do it by myself. So if I did it with someone else again, I would have other people that I would have to, adhere to what they want to do or where they want to go. And depending on how much of an owner you are or what have you, you don't have you don't always have a say in everything. So your vision gets lost along the way, especially if you've been an entrepreneur, then you've joined something and it kind of loses your vision. And there's nothing wrong with, if a company wants to get bigger and do bigger things and whatever, if that's not your joy and where you're going to contribute, then it is probably not the best place for you. So I just figured I would, get a job, take some time off, get a job, go back into the workforce. But that was during COVID. So I just kind of got bored over the summer, having time off. And so a friend just asked me like, well, and again, I had no plan. So I didn't even have a plan of what I was going to do to get unstuck. And I was doing coaching, trying to get unstuck, like everything. And so this one friend just said, like, will you just come work for me? I'm just struggling with getting leads for my business. And I just really need a digital partner that I can really trust and rely on. And I really think you can help bring my team together and help us. So I brought together a team that she had already been working with of various freelancers and really helped her build and grow her business. And she just put it back in me about how much I love that. Like just to be able to come in and do that for her and be like, wow, I still have these skills. People still want to work with me. Like, I'm just going to do this again and freelance. Like, I wasn't even thinking like work, get an agency. It's like, okay, well, I'll just get some clients. And I had a goal of like what I wanted to make every month. So that was like August or September that I think I first started working with her. And I had left my other job in like May. So after that, I had someone else from my past reach out that I did their website a long time ago. And they're like, will you just like revamp our website? So again, did it by myself. And got a couple digital marketing clients. And so that was happy. I'm like, okay, I'm making like as much money as I was making at my previous agency. And this is like my job. But then as I kept doing that, it just kept growing and growing and growing. But the model I was using that to grow. So, I was using other freelancers to help me and not trying to do everything by myself. And it just kind of like spiraled out out of control. And I was like, okay, so that's kind of how we grew. But it really did start with like how much I love doing the work again, how passionate I was about helping people. And, not thinking about like, this is a business. I just want to make a lot of money. I just want to grow an age. It wasn't about any of that. It was about bringing myself back to where my joy was and utilizing the skills that I had to offer that I wasn't able to use really previously. And then the other thing that I've really learned now is that I can't do all those things anymore. Like that was fun in the beginning, but now a really difficult position I'm in that I struggle with is leadership and teaching and trying to offset that knowledge for people because it is like for me 30 years of knowledge. So that's like right now what I'm really working on. And that's a very, very different place than I was a year and a half or 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago when I was just like, I just need one client. I just need 2 clients. I just need to pay the bills,
That's amazing. I just love that. I love that whole story because you didn't set out to be like, I'm going to be the best, women headed agency. You didn't set out with that goal, but it ended up being where it led you to. Why? Because you tapped back into your joy. You went and you said joy a couple times. And what is my joy? What do I love doing? And that is step one for anything you want to do, any kind of change in life. I always tell people, I advise them, that's the number one thing to do. We forget about that over time. It gets kind of worn out of us. It gets wrung out of us by life. And when we go back to what it is that we love to do, what brings us joy, what makes us happy, you have a passion for serving others, and it's almost like you just reminded yourself. We need reminders all the time of what it is that we love to do. And look at this beautiful thing that was birthed out of you just, maybe I'll have a client or two. And, maybe I'll, hey, I forgot how much I love doing this, So when we can go back to the things we love, that is amazing. Amazing. I just love that story. And so what would your tip be if somebody's listening right now and they're like, geez, I forget what I love. What would your tip be to them to find that again?
I mean, I don't really know how I found it again. I guess I just did something to figure out what I loved, and again, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to do digital marketing for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, oh, I want to do somebody's SEO, or like, it wasn't really like that. It was like, she's like, can you come help me? And so
Mm-hmm.
my natural instinct is I love helping people. Let me come in and figure it out. And then because I did that, I learned that I love that stuff again. And as the process went on, different things kept manifesting. So
Mm-hmm.
then we started doing like some biotech sites. And then it was like, oh, wow, I love doing these. My team loves doing these. Let's do more of these. Let's target these clients. Let's create a process for these clients. Let's create a product for these clients. And that ongoing, like iterative decision making allowed us to create a very specific product, price and promote this work that we do to those clients. So I never would have been able to come out of the gate and do that anyway. It definitely came from doing it. And again, if you don't know what to do, just do something to figure out what you love again. So,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like I loved like doing digital marketing. I was like, oh, I just want to go do digital marketing. It's more
Mm-hmm.
like I love my friend and I want to help her out. And she asked me and she's going to pay me. So why not? Let me get my feet wet. And so if I had a failed and didn't do a good job, then I would have known like, okay, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And like one other thing that someone asked me the other day, I was at an entrepreneurship event where my COO was speaking, and I was just there supporting her. And someone asked me like about being an entrepreneur, and I said, I don't really think I'm an entrepreneur. I really think I'm a marketer. Like I
Mm-hmm.
come up with ideas, I come up with marketing. It's just that it comes up as a business. But the reason I'm successful is because I'm a marketer. Like I know how to sell things, I know how to promote things. So I'm kind
Yep.
of like in this, like, am I an entrepreneur? Am I a marketer? But I truly believe I'm more of a marketer and relationship builder, and with the goal of helping people. And it just happens to be a business, which just happens to make me an entrepreneur.
I love that, right? Like, and we can be multiple things. And that's what it is about doing our own thing, right? Is like we are multiple things, but when we can tap into, just like you said, where is it that I'm supposed to be? What should I be doing? The universe. And when we can let go of that, the universe just shows us, like your path just sort of laid itself right out to you. And that is so beautiful. That's it. It just sort of evolved. And that is how I think you're on the right path, right?
And that's how you find out you're on the wrong path too. So
Exactly. Because sometimes knowing what we don't want, we're closer to getting what we do want, right? So the universe will show us. And I think that's where people need to learn to let go. We're all sort of control freaks somewhat inside, and we want to control the whole thing and be this, and we want it, and we've got these expectations. But you were just like super laid back about it. I want to help my friend. I'm going to go help her. And then all those things that you're amazing at just started bubbling out of you. And that's how we remember, right? By just doing it.
mhm.
I love that. Nike, step aside. Lysa has got her new motto. When you're
This is
not sure.
something. Oh, I have a few of those like little things that I kind of live by when I get stuck or when I get discouraged, or to kind of get me out of being there, because life can be discouraging, the business can be discouraging, there's lots of things in life that are discouraging,
Mhm.
especially things too, like when people do things to you that are not right, and unjust, and how you handle that.
Mm.
So and that does happen. And so I think for me in my life, I have so much going on also, like personally, and I need to, really stay focused on being happy, because that stuff, can drag you down, being a mom, being a single mom.
Mhm.
So, even in that situation, like where if I'm unhappy having to do something for my kids, I always try to pull something out of it. Like how can I have this bring me joy? Oh, I'll listen to a podcast, or I'll call a friend, or, because I spend a lot of time in my car driving my kids around,
Yeah, of course.
which
Yeah.
would be well spent doing work or cleaning my house. But I just always have to take the joy or something out of the situation and make it positive, because if you start going down that rabbit hole of like, oh, this sucks and whatever, it just manifests the opposite way. That's why you have to do something, because if you start
Mhm.
manifesting bad things, that's just a downward spiral, and you don't want that. And that's not
Totally.
to say bad things aren't going to happen. because I especially think after COVID, I think it's a lot harder world now. I don't know the reasoning. People are always like, Lysa, COVID's over. And I'm like, COVID is not over. It has long lasting effects on our children, on us as humans, on our lives, And so that's been hard to just kind of try to get back there, and I think a lot of people have a lot on their plate now, more than before. I don't really know why, but
it's
it can
true.
be more discouraging, than encouraging at times.
I love that. And so, your mantra is, when you feel stuck or you're not sure what to do, just do something and follow that joy deep inside. Well, don't go anywhere, everybody. We're going to be right back after a message here. Hold on tight because Lysa, I know you're hanging on her every word. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I know you can't wait to hear more from Lysa. She was sharing some incredible stuff about, kind of a little mantra that she has and what she says to herself. Tell us a little bit more because, we all go through things. Life brings us to our knees sometimes, right? I mean, my whole book was based on stuff that I wish didn't happen in my life, but we got to get ourselves back up. And how do we get over that? For you, what's something we started talking a little bit about limiting beliefs because they can be the very thing that get in our way, that keep playing over and over in our head. And so tell us how you get over that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really think much about limiting beliefs before. But a few years ago, probably like four years ago, maybe right before COVID, I went to the Metro West Women's Conference in Natick, and they had a speaker there who was a victim from the Boston bombing.
Oh,
I can't
boy.
remember her name now, but we actually had the same orthopedic doctor.
Wow.
But anyway, she was a ballet dancer. I don't know if she was Boston Ballet. But anyway, she lost her leg in the bombing, along with other injuries that she had. So people told her she could never dance again, and doctors told her that, people told her that, and somehow she started dancing again. She got a new leg. She figured out how to dance again. And her whole talk was about limiting beliefs. And so people are always putting those limiting beliefs on you and saying, you can do this, you can't do that. But who is everybody else to tell you what you're capable of and what you're not capable of? The only person that really knows that is you. And even if you're going to fail at something, you don't really know until you try. So by telling you can't do something, you're already setting somebody up for failure. So, I mean, I think that as I left my business, and even while I was in my previous business, I was doing some coaching. And, I had someone tell me that, I should dress this way and I should get up every morning and put makeup on and have a schedule. And, and this was like basically changing my whole life, and I would have these big ideas, and this person would be like, your ideas are too big. You have to think smaller. And so I don't know, I got really frustrated by that. I was just like, I just want to be me, and I just want to have goals, and I just want to do them. So I kind of went on this journey of becoming like more mindful about limiting beliefs, and when people would be putting their limiting beliefs on me, and when people would be putting their labels on me, like, you're messy, you're not organized, you're not good at this, like, oh, you're always late, and when you tell people those stories over and over again, they start to believe those stories. And so I think that happens to us throughout our whole lives. And so I kind of started being a rebel about it.
I love it.
And then I left my agency and I started working with this woman who, again, is a friend and a coach, but she doesn't like coach me every week. Just kind of gives me advice, kind of have this agreement, like, I can call you, we can talk. And so I told her this exact same story about how this person told me and I couldn't meet those expectations. That wasn't who I wanted to be. And so she looked at me and she said, so you just want to be you, right? You want to do these things you love and you want to be you. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, you rock you, let's rock you. And so, so then that's when I started like becoming a rebel. I'm like, all right, I'm going to wear my rock and roll t-shirt on this call with these biotech companies, I'm going to, whatever, I'm going to put crazy things on LinkedIn. I'm going to like do all these things that, I was afraid to do, but they were just me,
Mm-hmm.
and when I started doing those things, that's when I started really succeeding because I am me and my unique
Mm-hmm.
selling point is me. And if I go out there and try to be somebody else and try to replicate what somebody else is doing, it's not me, and it's going to be harder for me. Like, let's say, for example, I decided to start another agency and I had these processes and I had to do it this way and I had to do it that way and I couldn't do it my way. I wouldn't find that as joyful and as as just like encouraging as
Yeah.
something I was doing on my own. So I
Mm-hmm.
just came up with this, like, okay, and when somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm going to do it.
I love
Yeah,
you
let's
are a
prove them
rebel.
wrong. And I'm gonna show them, and I started speaking up about to people when they would put their limiting beliefs on me. I would say, hey, don't label me that way. Don't tell me I'm this. Don't tell me I'm that. You can say you did this, and
Mm-hmm.
and call me out on doing something, but don't label me. Don't label me as something
Mm-hmm.
that you don't get to define me. I get to define myself. And so and that just started happening. And it's like you can't have an agency called Ladybugz and target biotech clients. You don't know how to do SEO. You can't sell a company doing that. You don't do that anymore. Just like things like that people would say to me. And it's not even that they weren't supporters. It's just that they had their own limiting beliefs
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and they're putting that on you. That's basically what it is.
Absolutely. It's called
And
projection.
yeah, and I think it's a lot. And my daughter's also very mindful, and she calls me out a lot. And so,
Daughters are good at that.
yeah, like I yelled at her the other day because I caught her drinking.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, well, I get to yell at you when I catch you drinking. And she's like, no, you don't. Just because I did something wrong doesn't mean you get to yell at me. And I'm like, well, that's what
Wow.
parents do. And she's like, no, that's not what all parents do. She said, you could take me in a room and sit me down. And
Wow. This girl is wise.
well, because that's probably normally what I do.
That's how you brought her up. Yeah.
But sometimes kids just push you over the edge. And I had to check
They
in with
do.
myself and be like, wow, she's kind of right.
I
And so,
know, right?
just being mindful about yourself, being mindful about what other people are saying to you, because all the things that people told me I couldn't do, I've done. And there's, I haven't really thought about what my future goals are. I think I told you in another
Mm-hmm.
conversation that, like, I'm a little stuck right now. So I'm just doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And because my company's doing well, and so that's just kind of running on its own. But like, what's my next thing in my life that I want to accomplish? Is it personal? Is it something about me that I want to grow? Is it a skill? So I'm just putting my feet out there again and trying some new things and just taking action on things just to see where things go, because that worked for me before. So I'm going to have it, work for me again, hopefully.
I love that. You said to me when we first spoke that you were a disruptor, and I really get that now. I get that because that's the best thing you can do when somebody else tries to put something on you, their story, which is really
Mhm.
playing in their head, well intended or not. It doesn't always feel well intended. But a lot of times we unconsciously take that in without questioning it. That's what we did as kids, right? Like when we were growing up until 7 years old, our brain was just a big sponge. We're in this alpha state. So we're just taking it all in without the choice. But now we're adults. We can stop and say, hey, wait a second. I love that you do that. And you say, I'm not taking that. Don't label me. Because that's what people do naturally. That's what the brain does. It wants to label things. It's always sorting and deleting, just like a computer, to make it easier for us. Oh, this person's this, I'll put him in this bucket. But you can't do that anymore. And society's got the big stop sign on that. You can't do that anymore. And the beauty of what you just said that really hit me deeply, and I got a little chill when you said it, is when you stepped into your authentic self, when you stepped into who you really were, wearing that rock and roll t-shirt or whatever you were going to do, that's when your business started flourishing. And that is not a coincidence, right? I love that. I love that. And I think,
That's creepy.
right? So, it just reminds me of that song, about This Is Me, that This Is Me song from I don't even remember the movie, but it's so powerful, right? The Greatest Showman. This is me. This is who I am. Right. And then when we can come out in that song and embrace ourselves wholeheartedly and who we are and be confident about that, we give permission to everybody else to do the same thing. And that, my friend, is super powerful, especially as a woman in business. So I know people are listening and they're like, that's so cool. I want to do my own thing. I want to be more like Lysa. I want to, and I love that. Tell me a little bit about the name, because I love that people said, you can't call your company Ladybugz. Tell me about the name. I love that. Ladybugz with a Z.
So when I first moved to the US, because I'm immigrated here from Canada to work for an agency in Portland, Maine. And so when I was there, and then before I came here, I don't know, I was going to get a tattoo, and one of my friends was like, oh, you should get a ladybug. Like that'd be cute. And I was like, oh yeah. Because I was going to get like a heart from like Jennifer Aniston had the little heart tattoo. And I was like, I don't want like everybody else. Like, I don't know. I want something small. But so I ended up getting this ladybug tattoo. So that kind of became me. And then so when my friend and I started doing side gigs, because like this whole era we're in right now of side gigging and everything, it's already happened. It happened in 2000. It was called dot-com boom.
Right.
And doing, side businesses and startups. So we're like, okay, well, let's call it Ladybugz, because I had the tattoo and I came up with the name. It's two women. So we're like, oh, that's cool. So then when I left the agency a few years later, I just kept freelancing under that name. And then I built my agency up until about 2015. And then I sold it to a bigger agency. And that agency was like, probably, it wasn't super much bigger than me. It was maybe like, double my size or something like, yeah, it's probably double my size. And so, we just kind of let Ladybugz, we just kind of left it and we didn't keep it. So we went with the new B2B agency brand and everything, which was always the intention. So Ladybugz never really went away. We still got leads from it. We kept it up, So then when I started again, I started getting leads from it again. And so I just kept it, and I was going to actually change it to the Unagency. Again, I wanted to do things that other agencies weren't doing. That's always kind of been my plan, is to disrupt the way that things have to be done, and why can't they be done differently? And then I started getting, clients under it, and people started loving it. And it just became, and I kept toying with it. Like, I still don't know if I can get biotech clients with it. I still don't know if I can get these, bigger clients using this name. But I think it was just the universe's message telling me that, like, that's just me. That's my name. You need to keep it, because people are buying you, what you stand for, what your company stands for. And so that's why I kept it. So that's kind of like where it came from. And that's why we kept it. And I don't really think it's probably going to go anywhere. So
good. I love it. You got to keep it. That's a great story. You got to keep it.
She's an old ladybug. She's been around since 95.
But ladybugs are resilient, and ladybugs are very lucky, right? So there's a lot of things hidden that, and I love that it was two women that started the firm Ladybugz. It's a great, great story. We're going to break real quick, and don't go back. Don't go back. Do come back. Don't go anywhere far, and come right back. We'll be back with Lysa in a second. Is your biotech firm, nonprofit, or startup ready to make a big leap? Ladybugz Interactive understands your unique journey. We're not just any digital agency. As an award-winning, women-led team, we bring a fresh perspective to your digital presence. Our specialty? Tailoring vibrant websites and marketing solutions specifically for growing companies like yours in healthcare, biotech, nonprofit, and B2B sectors. Ready to rebrand, launch, or soar to new heights? Discover how we can add value to your story. Join the buzz at Ladybugz Interactive. Visit ladybugz.com today. That's LADYBUGZ.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Look for the Good. I'm here with Lysa Miller of ladybugz.com with a Z. And she's just sharing the most incredible story about herself. And I just love how you've reinvented yourself, and along with that, your business. Talk a little bit about why your agency is different and how you've reinvented it, and what is the crux behind that? Like, what is the biggest thing that you think you were able to help clients with? Why are they attracted to this ladybugz.com?
Yeah. So I think that when I first started, I didn't have a mission or an idea, but I did know that I wanted to help people. And it really started with, I want to help women.
Mhm.
So from there, it just kind of like iterated and changed as to like what people needed and what I was able to provide for them, not just the client, but some of the people I was also working with,
Mhm.
my team members. So as time went on and we started to do more projects, I really started to understand what clients needed. It actually happened pretty fast, being able to kind of see what their needs were, where they weren't getting met, how other agencies weren't able to meet their needs. And then
Mhm.
I also was working from a place of what I didn't want in my company. Like,
Mm.
I didn't want a culture of people, having tight deadlines and working long hours and being having that typical agency experience. So there was kind of three things. There was like the client, what they wanted.
Mhm.
It was kind of like what I wanted, and there was like what my team wanted. But first of all, with the products, after working with companies, we were just really able to diagnose what worked, what didn't work, what their budgets were, how we were able to provide that in their budget, and coming into those companies earlier in their stage of growth so that
Mhm.
we could like be their partner all along the way versus like coming in later and changing where they already were.
Mm.
So it was kind of like something that we discovered that we could really, really help with. That's why we work with like startup biotech companies a lot, is because they're looking for someone to come in and give them advice at a very early stage and partner with them and help them, but they're not yet at the stage where they have a huge budget to be able to do it. So how
Mm.
do you do all that stuff within their budget? And that budget can vary depending on where they are, what stage they're in. And then other things they were struggling with, over time we saw messaging and writing, and how do you bring your story to the world when you're launching a biotech startup, when you're trying to cure cancer, or you have a new cell therapy for, eye disease or whatever it might be. How
Mhm.
do you tell that story? How do you tell that to your audience? So it just became a very collaborative process that we started to call Agile. And, everybody kept
Mm.
saying, like, you can't do Agile web design. Like, it's not a thing. You have to do waterfall. So then it kind of became, well, it's kind of Agile fall then, that's what my friend says about his agency.
Uh-huh.
So, um, so that was kind of how we came up with the product and what
Mhm.
people wanted. And even now we still work on what that product is and how we can, because sometimes the process is not always perfect. Like I would say 90% of the time we get it all right, but there have definitely been 10% of the times where it was not a mesh for whatever reason. The
Mhm.
client didn't meet the deadlines. So then it's like, okay, well then if a client can't meet a deadlines, how do we address that and trying to just fix every problem along the way? So that was really a great way to set up the products and then to tell people about what you're selling them. So then you're speaking to their pain points. And so
Mm.
it's just natural when you start speaking to them about that stuff that they would come to you.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of easy to kind of target them and
Mhm.
in the marketplace with other agencies and stuff like that. So the other thing, was that we really embraced that collaboration. So making that client feel like they're part of that journey the whole way helps us, especially using Agile, helps you get to like a better place in the end because it's much closer to what they wanted versus what you wanted as the designer,
For
where
them, right. Mhm.
you're really in their soul trying to like take everything out. And so that just that's been really, really rewarding because you have these people that are so smart and so talented, and it being their authentic vision, like we talk about my authentic vision, but theirs, it makes it the product and the biotech startup and the science even more exciting because they're coming out of the gate with the right message versus like
Mm.
coming out with the wrong message and getting it wrong and having to go
Yeah.
back and be like, we thought this is what we wanted to say, but it really wasn't what we wanted to say. And then they have to start all over again. And so
Yeah.
that was definitely a story we kept hearing over and over. And so that just trickled into other industries. So we are working in healthcare tech. So that was a very similar story there. We're working
Mhm.
in like nonprofit, and that would become a story there. So those were kind of the
Wow.
key little areas that really spoke to. And the pricing was definitely a huge part of it. And how could we do the same project with the high level of design that you'd pay a larger company for? How could we keep that level of quality, but provide it at the price that they want? And so Agile kind of allowed us to be able to do that. So
I love that. And you're tying everything together, right? It's not just what you want and what your vision is, but the client. And I love that you're getting it right from the beginning because, as an entrepreneur, I've tried many different things. And it's so much harder to go back and fix something if you've already tried to brand it one way than to get that story right from the get-go, because it also affects the confidence level, not only personally as an entrepreneur, but it affects the company's confidence level and all the people in it. So when they feel confident about the message, that it really identifies who they are, their product, what their mission is, you can see how that just starts running a path. Like you said, a waterfall. It just starts, like you start at the top of that, it just starts cascading and goes everywhere it's meant to be. And that is really powerful way to do marketing. I love that. So talk to us a little bit about, I love how you've taken your personal stuff and you've parlayed it into the company. And, yet here you are with this amazing company. Talk to us about what you've done in a very short period of time, because you've won all these awards for being incredible and for taking that company from zero with your idea of Ladybugz and bringing it to the millions of dollars. So tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, so again, like I didn't have one client, not one.
Wow.
But I was able to scale. I mean, scaling is always very difficult in this type of business, especially when it's highly project based and you can't, if you're going to hire people full time, you have to have full time work. So the way that I started freelancing really allowed me to adopt a model that was going to work for our really stealthy growth. So it started with freelancers, and those freelancers not having enough work themselves and being able to bring them onto these projects that they would never have been able to win on their own or even do on their own. And then also freelancers don't get a lot of development, learning and stuff like that. So just really embracing them and teaching them. And, the nice thing about the freelancers is that they're experts at what they do. So no training, there's, and so we've just built that, they're almost like our full-time freelancers. Like they all probably work half time for us and then half time for themselves. And that's like on the project side. So that was really allowed us to grow really fast. Because in our second year, we did hit 7 figures. So people think like, how do you scale an agency that fast? And it was all websites. It was not marketing. It was basically all websites. So you
Wow.
can imagine the number of websites that we did.
Wow. I can.
And that is how we gained all that recognition. But with that came digital marketing. And so as the digital marketing grew, we were able to bring on full-time employees. So now we're hybrid. We're half full-time, half freelancers, but you need full-time people on those retainer type clients. And so just giving everybody the freedom to work their own hours, to work in a space where they feel the best and the most creative. It's not about like how much work you do, or it's not really about how much time you spend. It's more about the quality of the work that you do that really, really matters here. And we're all going to learn from each other. And again, when you're like in a job, like a regular job, so like my digital marketers, like versus my freelancers, the digital marketing people, this is their role. This is what they do. Whereas like the people on the other side, they kind of get to pick what they do. It can change project by project. So you never, when you have that kind of a team that can do what they want, they can really grow and be happy and see, their own growth, which has been really, that's been really incredible, is to watch those people grow. And then the bigger challenge for me has been the digital marketing, because I'm the marketer and I brought people on to help me. And so I need to teach those people what I know, and then they need to take that. So that part of the business also grew really, really fast this year. And so that's where I am now, where I'm really working on that. I'm working with a coach. But the whole goal was to just hire people that needed what I had, the ability to flex, the ability to learn, the ability to contribute, and not have like a bureaucratic structure, to our company where it's like, ooh, we have the leaders of these things and we want everybody to kind of be valued at the same level. Not that there's not leadership, but it doesn't really flow by title, you know?
Yeah.
It more flows by contribution. And then just figuring out iteratively where people are going to fit best in the company as time goes on. So that's just where we are now. And so I think it's almost harder now that we're bigger, because getting big was kind of easy.
Mhm.
But now that we're bigger and growing, that's, I think, where the challenges are starting to appear.
Sure.
So yeah, so that's kind of
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's like taking your personal philosophy and expanding it out into your company, which is what caused it to grow. And now you're going to have different problems, but they're good problems to have, right? Now you're in more of a leadership. But, I feel like the whole theme is you embracing yourself, you taking some time to reflect deeply on what's important to you, what was getting in your way, and then parlaying that over into the company. And now everybody else has that same mindset, because when we embrace something like that, especially as a parent, like you get that too. We all get that as parents. We're a reflection, we're giving people permission to stand in themselves and be wholly themselves, and get in there, and maybe they're going to make some mistakes, right? But it's okay, because we're holding the space, and it's really about the contribution. You said, I love that, how you mentioned it's about the contribution, and it's about everybody coming and valuing everybody's unique input,
Mhm.
which is what you seem to be a master at. And I'm sure people would say about you as a leader is everybody comes, we're all equal, right? You might be the CEO, but we're all equal, and I'm going to listen to you and your ideas, because that's how we get great ideas, is the collaboration, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I
So
love
true.
that. And I just think more companies could really embrace that. This is the modern way to do business. It's not
Mhm.
so much a hierarchy and this is how we do things here. And if you don't fit in, you're out. It's a collaborative, mindful, let's get our heads together, because together we create such synchronicity, which is exactly, it's a synchronistic growth that your company is experiencing.
Yeah, and I think it's hard when you grow. So it was easy to do it up until this point where we are now, but as we get bigger, we have to figure out how can we still be creative and do that, but still grow, because we just grow naturally. It's like we couldn't even not grow if we tried. It's just growth is just natural. So it is something that you have to really, embrace.
I love that. I think it's really, really powerful. And growth is what we're supposed to do naturally. That's why it's happening naturally. We're supposed to grow as people. And then our companies, why wouldn't they naturally supposed to grow
Mhm.
along with us as well? Because that's what we're here for, is to find that growth. And I love the way you've embraced so much of that in your business, in your personal life. And I know that everybody's gleaned so much from our talk here today. They're listening. They probably want more. And if you want to find out more about Lysa or her company, go to ladybugz.com. That's ladybugz.com. We love to spell things here on radio, Lysa. And so you can reach out. Where can they find you if they wanted to chat with you personally? Is there a contact form on your website?
Yeah, there's contact form on my website, but I'm really big on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. And my
Awesome.
name's spelled with a Y, Lysa. So even if you type in Lysa, you'll probably find me, or Lysa
Yes.
Ladybugz. So I'm always happy to chat with people on there and stuff like that. And I put a lot of information on there too. So
Yes, you have some great stuff on there. And you guys know where I am. So I'm connected to Lysa on LinkedIn, so you can find her there. And thank you so much again for coming on Look for the Good. It's really been awesome having you on here today and sharing your nuggets of wisdom.
thanks for having me, Carrie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. And remember, everybody, it is never too late to live your best story. Be well.
It is not.
Thanks for tuning in to Look for the Good with your host, Carrie Rowan, best-selling author and mindset coach. Join us every Monday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right here at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you weren't able to catch an episode, no worries. Just visit our website to find all the archived episodes of Look for the Good on demand, so you don't miss a thing. And remember, it's never too late to live your best story. For additional resources or to find out about how you can work with Carrie directly, visit carrierowan.com for more details.